Thank you very much for making a date. Welcome back to the marketplace. The United States of America says it will continue to prioritize Africa as a key trading partner and ensure mutual benefits for all. Deputy U.S. Assistant Secretary of State in charge of trade and negotiations, Peter Haas, in an exclusive interview with Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, says there are bigger plans for the continent moving beyond the current Africa Growth and Opportunities Act, AGWA.
It's a huge part of our relationship with Africa, and it's something that we've devoted a lot of attention to. As you know, our Secretary of Commerce, Wilbur Ross, recently did a trip across Africa where he led an American delegation on doing business in Africa. We recently hosted the AGOA Forum, the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act Forum in Washington, where we brought trade ministers from around Africa to talk about how they can export to the U.S. and how we can develop our trade relations. And then we're also in the process of looking at possible free trade agreement partners within the continent of Africa. So it's a hugely important issue for us, and the business-to-business ties are an important part of any relationship.
So my last question, we started off the conversation on trade and what is being done with AGOA and all. What's the plan for that going forward? Will they get bigger? There are concerns that America is looking a lot more inward, over the last 2 years or so. What's the plan?
So AGOA so it has to be approved by our Congress, and they recently in 2015 approved it for another 10 years, so it goes through 2025. But when they approved it, they also sent the signal that we should be preparing for what our trade relationship with Africa looks like after AGOA. And so we will probably still have the GSP, Generalized System of Preference, but then also there's the decision that Ambassador Lighthizer announced at the AGOA Forum, where we're going to start looking at African partners to see with whom we could possibly have a free trade agreement with. And so it's a look towards what's the next step after if our Congress doesn't approve it. And so we're already starting to look to the future and to see what can happen. But in the meantime, we have 7 more years of AGOA where it's still in place. It's a hugely important tool for African exporters, and we want to make sure we're working with all eligible African countries to make sure they're utilizing it to the greatest extent possible.
Now, the Ghana National Association of Poultry Farmers says it is collecting data on birds in various farms nationwide to address perennial shortage of maize and its effect on the industry. The association says it will help it determine the quantity of maize needed to feed birds for onward supply by the Agric Ministry and the Buffer Stock Company. This comes amidst rising prices of maize on the local market, which industry players say puts unprecedented pressure on businesses in the value chain. Chairman Victor Oponji says reliable data will help address the perennial shortage of maize and reduce its negative effects.
Actually, as I speak with you now, we don't know the number of birds in the country. This is something that will not help, because if you're able to get data, at least we know the number of layers, the number of broilers, and it will inform us to do our calculation to know the quantity of maize that will be used every year. It will also help the government in its planning. Well, I think that is the main reason why we mostly run out of maize and other things, because we don't even know the quantity that we are consuming per annum. So the Ghana National Association of Poultry Farmers are going to embark on biometric registration latest by middle of this month. We will urge all poultry farmers to register. This is in collaboration of Ministry of Food and Agriculture. This will help us to know the actuals, because we want to know the number of birds in the country, I mean the capacity. And this will help us to at least know the quantity of maize that we will consume every year. So it's a program that we will want all poultry farmers to take part. The program will start from Brong-Ahafo region, and we are going to all the regions to register every farmer, because based on this data that we are collaborating with the government to project everything about the poultry. So if you are not included, it means you are doing harm to yourself. So we are taking this opportunity to announce to all poultry farmers that when the program starts, be part of it. Because if you have 1,000 birds, for example, we can calculate and see that every day the birds take so much. So if you multiply it by 365 days, you know the quantity of feed that the bird will take. So you know the maize component and the other ingredients components. So it's very important to us as an association.
Now, business at the ports is expected to get a major boost with the expected completion of the first phase of the Tema port expansion project next June. The $1.5 million project involves the expansion and upgrade of Ghana's main sea port as part of GPHA's plan to improve port infrastructure. Speaking to Joy Business, Deputy Minister for Transport Titus Glover said the completion of the port project will reap significant economic benefits.
According to the engineering design and the works on the ground, they have programmed that by June, July next year, they're supposed to finish the first two terminals. Then they will move from the old terminal to the new terminal for operations. But it will continue. They are doing, I think, about 4 or so. But the first two will be ready by the middle of next year. What it means is that, one, there's going to be more efficiency, because hitherto vessels that have bigger drafts, when I say bigger draft, that has, in terms of the depths, that could not call in the country, because the deepness is about 60 meters deep in the sea. So we're going to have larger vessels that will be calling with more boxes, with goods that are calling to our ports will be coming. It means that some jobs are going to be created for the youth in the port enclave. Then also revenue generation was also going to be enhanced for national development. These are 3 key things that I've seen, hopefully when they move to the new area in the middle of next year.
Let's now move on to one of our top stories. And the share price of MTN Ghana witnessed significant increase after the company listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange a while ago. It went up by 3 pesos to 78 pesos after it started trading on the local bears. This should mean that the about 128,000 investors who bought into the offer have witnessed this appreciation in value. Now, speaking earlier to Joy Business after the listing, Chief Executive of MTN, Salom Adadevo, promised to institute measures to give real value to shareholders. But now let's go on to the phone lines and speak with my colleague George Rafi, who covered the program for some more details. Good afternoon, George. Welcome to the marketplace.
Hi, yes, good afternoon. I hope you're doing very well in the office. Yeah, I know it's all in an interesting development.
Sure.
Just a few minutes after they started trading on the Ghana Stock Exchange, the value went up by 3 pesos. I think about 1,000 share price. 1,000 shares were actually offered for that person who wanted to exchange those shares for some extra value in terms of what he or she has bought. And that is what we've seen here just a while ago, around 11:30, when they listed on after the initial ceremonial agreement or ceremonial stuff here, the price went up by that margin.
Now, George, so what accounted for this jump in the share price?
I think that it tells you, even after the IPO, a large number of investors out there want to take a bite of the MTN share. It's all because people are having the view or the perception that the price could be going up. Okay. So why don't I get in quickly before it hits maybe 80 Ghana cedis, or 80 pesos or something, which I can lock in quickly and also gain from the price appreciation. So you could see that a lot of bids are outstanding in terms of those who want to get in and quickly get the price at a lower price before it goes up as trading goes on with MTN shares that is trading as MTN Ghana, that is the trade name of the shares on the Ghana Stock Exchange.
All right, so give us a breakdown. Currently, if somebody wants to buy a share at MTN after the IPO, how much is it going for?
So right now, it means that the IPO price was 75 pesos. Now, if you want to get MTN shares, it's gone up. It's now 78 pesos. And don't forget that you would just not make a bid to buy one share. So imagine if you want to buy like 5,000 shares, do the multiplication, and you see how much you'll be paying now for each share price that has gone up by 3 pesos to 78 pesos. This is how much you will be paying in terms of the real value of the shares of MTN. But ask me the question or talk about how can I do that. You can make that transaction through your fund managers or any of these investment houses or broker firms that actually work on this offer, that you make the request through them and they're going to make the purchase for you. But the thing is that you'll be paying 3 pesos more than what was offered during the initial public offering.
All right, so I believe you spoke with some officials, especially the CEO of MTN. What have they been saying?
No, he is optimistic about more exciting times for MTN on the market. He believes that this is just, what do you call it? This is just the beginning of more excitement that we are going to witness on the stock market with respect to trading. And don't forget that MTN is big. So if other investors out there would want to monitor their movements in the market, that could also result in other shares in the market benefiting as well in terms of more of like bids coming in and also in terms of other star performers on the market just because of what is happening to MTN.
Now, George, I believe other people might have come to the program. Who else was there, among the trading
Well, we had
sector?
the board chair of the Ghana Stock Exchange was here. But ACN was around. We also had the Skiddies Nation Commission boss. He was also here. And they all had several speeches trying to re-emphasize the point that we are getting there in terms of the market liquidity that we are all looking forward to. So it appears that we are getting there, and MTN could open the gate in terms of us realizing that real market liquidity that we are all looking forward to.
Did you get to speak with Kofi Yamwa, the MD of the BERS? And
of course, and he spoke about the history that we are seeing in terms of the listing, the volumes, and all the rest. And we're going to see more in terms of other companies, possibly about 2 companies coming into the market before the close of this year. And then going into next year, he also insisted that he believes that any bank that wants to come onto the market can still do that, raise the required money and come onto the market, and it might not be too late.
All right. Thank you very much, George, for that update. We expect you back in the office for some more details of this particular development. George, we have my colleague briefing us up to speed on this particular development where the MTN's share has risen sharply after it listed finally on the Ghana Stock Exchange a while ago. It's on the marketplace, and moving on to other stories. Businesses could be generating more income if they protect their inventions and business ideas. That's according to an intellectual property rights expert speaking to Joy Business at the second day of the MTN Open Coffee Series. Secretary of Intellectual Property Network Sheila Naki Jangma disabused the minds of the public that it's expensive to acquire property rights.
Over the world, people have missed out on the gains of their unique inventions and business ideas simply because they have failed to own such innovations through patenting and trademarks, among others. It is also because existing regulations have failed to protect their rights. It is for this reason that telecoms giant MTN Ghana has organized a lecture on intellectual property at the MTN Open Coffee Series here in Accra. It is to educate business owners on how to protect their ideas and inventions. In an interview with Joy Business, Secretary of Intellectual Property Network, Sheila Naki Jamma, outlined some benefits of acquiring property rights.
We need to know what we have, we need to know how to exploit it so that we can make it. These are things that sometimes are not seen as tangible, but this is an intangible property which you can even will to your successors in your will. It's something that you must, even in writing a will, you must add that I own this book, I own this movie, I own rights and so and so. You must put all of them down because these things translate into money when you exploit them properly. So once you know your rights, you are able to exploit them and you get some income from those as well. Intellectual property is one of many topics MTN has put together to educate stakeholders in their various disciplines. Manager for Apps and IoT at MTN Ghana, David Na, explains further the relevance for the topic.
You know, we are in a digital age and things have changed. In the past, we moved from the turntable, the vinyl, to cassette, recorder, and then CD, and now it is digital. The rules have changed, right? People still work with the rules of the past, and people run into a lot of intellectual property issues, right? And we thought it wise to bring resources from the Ministry of Justice to come enlighten people in the industry on what they need to know about intellectual property rights.
The MTN Open Cafe series ends today. Bismarck Ausa, Joy Business.
It's on live on the marketplace. Now, the Ghana Shippers Authority has indicated payments for demurrage at the ports have dropped. Shippers had persistently complained their profits were being eroded due to the high cost of demurrage charged by shipping lines at the ports. But speaking at the 6th Maritime Seminar for Journalists, CEO of the Ghana Shippers Authority, Benwanita Bismarck, said the situation has now been reversed as shown by recent statistics.
In payments for demurrage at the ports was attributed to a number of factors, including the introduction of the paperless systems and sensitization of shippers on how to cut down demurrage charges. Benwanita Bismarck is the CEO of the Ghana Shippers Authority.
Data from the authority indicates that payments for demurrage at the ports decreased by about 17.5% from $100 million in 2016 to $76 million at the end of 2017. Again, in the first half of 2018, the authority recorded total payments of about $28.5 million, a reduction of about 21% compared to payments recorded for the same period in 2017, which was $38.5 million.
The CEO of the Ghana Shippers Authority, Madam Benwanita, was speaking at the 6th Maritime Seminar for Journalists aimed at sensitizing the media on activities at the port. According to the president of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, the program was necessary to help project the shipping industry.
The port's contribution to GDP is over 60%. And if you look at it this way and think that our media probably only gets the attention, the port only gets attention in the media when there are controversies, okay? We think it is not good enough. We think the port is doing so well that if we must project what is happening within the port, we don't have to wait till there is crisis before issues about the port is put out there. And we think if it must be put out there it must be put out there from the basis of knowledge of what is happening and not conjecturing.
The seminar was under the theme Contemporary Trends and Developments in Ghana's Shipping Industry. Sheila Tamaklo for Joy Business.
Now, trade volume between the United Arab Emirates and Ghana has reached $2.7 billion compared with the $2.4 billion in 2016. At the official Trade Investment Forum in Accra, Under Secretary of the Arab Ministry of Economy, Abdallah Saleh, attributed the surge to trade in Ghana's gold.
Statistics indicate that the volume of trade between Ghana and the United Arab Emirates, UAE, reached $2.7 billion at the end of 2017, compared with $2.4 billion in 2016. Predominantly, gold has remained the commodity of trade for the United Arab Emirates over the past years, despite the fact that Ghanaians embark on a lot of trade travels into Dubai and other prominent cities of the UAE. However, the UAE says it wants to now diversify into other forms of trade opportunities with Ghana. The Undersecretary of the UAE's Ministry of Economy, Abdallah Saleh, noted that as his country is considered a gateway in the Middle East, it hopes to capitalize on Ghana's unique position as a gateway to West Africa.
I don't see that it is good enough. Looking to the potential that each country can offer to the others, I think there is a space to double this number easily. I think Ghana considered as a gateway for the region here, for West African countries, and UAE is a gateway for the region in the Middle East. So I think connecting two hubs together is very important, and the potential of trade and increasing the figures is not a challenge for us. We would like to increase our bilateral economic relations with Ghana. We have an excellent government-to-government relations, and we are looking to facilitate the channels.
Abdallah Saleh was speaking on the sidelines of a GIPC Dubai Business Forum organized in Accra. On his part, head of Dubai Chamber in Ghana, Cyril Dakwa, mentioned some challenges that undermine Ghanaian investors doing business in the UAE and outlines some solutions.
Access to market intelligence, and that is one of the reasons why Dubai Chamber is increasing its presence in Ghana. This is because, before you do any meaningful business, you need to have that market penetration. And we have a membership base of over 220,000 members. So as part of our efforts to help local companies integrate seamlessly into Dubai and the UAE, we are providing this database and information to local companies so that before they even start doing business, they would have been in contact with some of the potential off-takers and potential partners in Dubai to make things very, very easy for them.
The Dubai Chamber has a database that helps local companies integrate seamlessly with their counterparts in the UAE.
And just before we go, a comprehensive policy to control plastic waste is being worked out on Parliament's consideration. Now, that's according to the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. In an interview with Joy Business, Acting Executive Director of the EPA, John Puamang, says his outfit, in collaboration with the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology and Innovation, are working hard to present a policy to regulate plastics by October this year.
But the process of banning is what we are in now. The Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation is trying to come up with a policy framework which will enable us to take a good decision on the banning. There are some uses of plastic that we can foresee because of the international system that we are following. Already many of the international community are already going away from single-use plastics, what we call single-use. Use it once and then you have to dump. So we will have to move with the international community. If we are not willing to do it on our own, the international community will pull us along. But we want to have a policy framework which will enable us to do this in a holistic manner so that it is not like ad hoc, which will come up and then in the end you have to go back to the drawing board again.
How soon are you looking at addressing this canker?
We think that by October, we will come up with a policy. And once the policy goes to Cabinet and Cabinet gives approval, then that gives us the go-ahead to start implementing. The policy framework will indicate the kind of interventions we want to do. And when Cabinet gives approval, then it means that all those ones will start falling in place. If we think that there's going to be a ban of a certain type of plastic, we'll start putting in the regulations to do that and all that.
And here we draw the curtains down on this afternoon's edition of The Marketplace. Great to be with you. Join me again same time tomorrow for more business. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. We are free. Have a good afternoon.